It's just after 11 p.m. on a Friday night, and in about 8 hours' time, you're going to be opening your weekend paper. But for now, this is what it looks like. We're at Transcontinental Printing in Vaughan, Ontario to see the Globe and Mail go to press.
I always tell all the folks that work for me, there's only two instant ways to get fired: run out of paper and run out of ink. Plate's aluminum. There's a coating on there so that the image can burn onto the plate. And so what this image is this image allows ink to adhere to where you see an image, and then that image is then offset back onto the paper when the paper runs through the unit. The pumps, which are behind these, pump the ink from here through those pipes out to the presses and down to the presses. Because we run a hybrid product here, which is running both Coldset and Heatset, we have to have two separate sets of ink. The Heatset ink is actually a different type of ink that doesn't actually soak into the paper. It sits on top of the paper, and when it runs through the oven on the press, it solidifies the ink, whereas Coldset ink actually soaks into the paper. And it's even more complicated because the Heatset ink is actually run on a heavier stock. So if you look, the paper's even different.
So it's a complicated process, but worth it, right?
Absolutely.
The first thing you notice when you walk in is the smell. It is overwhelming and powerful, and it's like a mixture of paper and hardware store smell is the only way that I can describe it. It's also very loud, which is why I'm wearing these.
So this is we call the quiet room because it's relatively quiet compared to what it's like out there. But this is where the press operators actually run the press. When they're outside, all they're really doing is webbing up the press and hanging plates. Once that's completed, then they come in here and they run the show from inside the quiet room.
How many times a night would you say generally you have to stop the presses to make a fix or change?
Well, they'll have at least one plate change, scheduled plate change every night.
What does that mean when you have a scheduled plate change?
They know that we have to get the press started and get the papers put out the door to reach the further distance that the trucks have to go. But by doing that, they'll actually have to start without having some of the latest sports scores and such. So when the sports games are over, whether it's baseball, football, hockey, they'll stop the press. We'll replate those pages, and then we'll get back up and running. Depending on what news is taking place or what sports are going on, there could actually be two stops. Minutes do make a lot of difference. Just keep in mind the last file comes at 11 o'clock, but we still have to generate the plate, and then the plate has to come and hang on the press, and then the press has to start up and get good copy, and the good copy has to go out to post-press, and they have to insert it into the machines out there and create the bundles down the conveyor and into the back of the truck. So there's where your 45-minute window is, from last file to first paper out.